The results are in from our poll to nominate which celebrity should play us in a live-action movie of our podcast.
Ooh, I've been waiting for this. I figured that you would be more of a rugged, Brad Pitt type. And I'm thinking I am more of the shorter, pretty boy, like a Tom Cruise.
Uh-oh.
Whoa, what? Who won? Who do they think should play us?
Statler and Waldorf? The two old Muppet critics who played Marley and Marley?
I think honesty's always the best policy.
You believe that?
No, I was lying.
The following podcast contains graphic descriptions of international celebrating and global merrymaking. It may not be suitable for angry or unhappy audience members. Listener discretion is advised. You've been warned.
Have you ever seen any of those foreign films? I don't like them.
Lord, you! Trying to survive!
Some are born great, others achieve greatness, and some watch Christmas movies.
Bon Natale! Now this campaign! We are the wild and crazy guys!
Well, they're both festive, aren't they?
Joyeux Noel!
And we are the festive foreign film fans. Happy New Year, Mark.
Happy New Year, Bob. May
6 days later. 6 days later.
Acquaintance be forgot. Ever since I retired, I really do think I have a career in music.
I think you do. And I will just be the backup dancer because obviously I don't sing when you do because I cannot. But as you can tell our audience, I do dance along with you while you sing.
He's a phenomenal dancer. Yeah, he should be on Dancing with the Stars, and I should be on the Golden American Idol.
Yes.
That doesn't exist, but I think it should.
I think it should, just like the Golden Bachelor.
Yeah,
the
Golden
Idol.
Bachelorette. Golden Idol.
The Golden View.
That's right.
And you just don't turn your chair around. Just keep listening
That's
to
right.
me.
Eventually, you'll like this. Oh, I always have so much energy on New Year, don't you?
I know. So we started in 2023. We're going into our second calendar year.
I didn't think about that.
What I love, every time there's like these momentum turns, it's like either when we have our anniversary show or when the year changes and you go, wow, we're still able to do this. We're still doing it.
That's crazy.
Because when we started, we've had to research and look for movies, and you never knew. It wasn't like we had the first year planned out,
right?
All these movies. What I was always fearful of is, are they just all going to be European movies,
right. Right.
And that's what I've had people say to me, like, Senegal? Really?
Right.
Where did you? And that's the fun thing, just finding these films that, one, we probably would never have seen ourselves, and then learning about these different places.
All the things we've learned. I mean, I think it's as you've brought in our vision into being more than just Christmas fun movies. I even think about one of my favorite movies, Carol the Bells.
Yeah.
Right? Definitely a Christmas movie. Definitely something everyone should see. But it was during World War II and has some heavy overtones to it. But it's just an incredible movie. So I just think it's been fun to be able to explore so many different parts of the world without actually having to leave Fox River Grove.
Yeah, as much as we'd like to. That's the one thing I've thought of a couple of times. I'm like, that country really looks beautiful.
Oh,
and I'll
my
probably
God.
never see it.
Yes, you will. I know we've talked about on the shows. There's some of these tours. You and I have talked about the Viking boat cruises. Yeah. Viking, if you'd like to sponsor us and just let us know, we're happy to go on and do a live show on your cruise boats. But like there's some of those cruises where you could hit like 7 or 8 countries over the course of 2 weeks. And some of these are the countries that we've explored.
That is like a dream of mine. Would be so fun to do a Fest and Foreign Film Fans cruise tour, like a Viking cruise where we go to these different countries.
we talk about the movies we watch and some of the customs and we go to them. Wouldn't that be so fun?
It would be incredible.
So should we put that on our resolutions for 2025?
Well, you're much more diligent than I've ever been in my life about keeping your resolutions and you list your goals and then you kind of reflect on them each year. I'm sporadic about it. And so I think if we put this one on there, we got to hold ourselves accountable.
Yeah, well, we know somebody who has a connection to at least Holland, America. I think our friend Jake is.
Jake knows everybody.
Jake does. Yep. We saw that with all the ladies flocking around him at our live show.
I thought we had I really thought the police were going to get called.
I know.
The screaming, the yelling.
Well, I was just worried about the fire chief coming in and going, "You guys, this is too dangerous. Get all these girls away from the stage."
I mean, I haven't seen that many bras flying since I went to Victoria's Secrets.
The sad part is they were flying past you and I and over to Jake. And
Clearly.
Yes. So
Clearly.
But here we go. So 20. So we're 40 episodes in. Think about that. Our Christmas show, our live show, that was number 40.
Wow. It's amazing. I mean, this has been what a fun ride.
Yeah.
It's been so much fun to do this with you.
Typically at New Year's, you look forward. 2025. What's 2025 going to hold? But I want to say, hey, 2024, let's look back. It was such an exciting year. You got to retire. You visited Greece. You went on one of your baseball park tours. You're going to have to keep checking in with us as you mark off more and more of those baseball parks because we all want to know when you hit the final one.
Yep.
And let's see, I had my two boys. They moved to New York City.
Yeah.
Yes, I changed my job. Instead of retiring, I just decided to get a new job. How about that?
It's exciting for you.
Yeah.
You sound very excited about
Yes, I am excited. And it's time to count our blessings, right? So every day we got health. We got family, and we're really lucky. We both have great families, and sometimes you feel like the luck of the gods. How did this happen? You know?
Hey, but I mean, you think about, I don't know what the divorce rate is anymore. Was it 50% or whatever it is? But I think about how fortunate you and I to have two phenomenal partners in our lives forever. We've been married forever. Doesn't seem like forever though, honey. It seems like just yesterday. But no, seriously.
And
I mean,
they don't look any different than they did on that wedding day.
That's right. Not an iota. Unfortunately, we do. But I think that's a big part of why we get to do what we do. I think they enjoy us doing this. I think they like making fun of us. You know, it is about our families that make this happen.
We have many blessings. But the one thing I also wanted to say, because we didn't really get to talk about this because our Christmas show is our fun live show. But I was going to say, when I count my blessings, you're one of those blessings. We have been friends for years, and that's fun. We get to comment on that. But now that we have this, it's almost made it even better because I have heard things about you and your family, and now your family loves to run you down to me when they answer our trivia questions. So my relationship with you is growing through your family, and I think it's made us closer in a whole different way. And we have this regular pattern. We're seeing each other, so all good. We know Jake. We got Jake now, and he introduces us to all the young ladies. So I mean,
well, it's very nice you say that, but I couldn't agree more. I think it's enriched my life, not only because our friendship has been enriched, but it's just, I really have valued these movies and what I've learned about myself, even my own, maybe in some of my biases, maybe, you know, and kind of challenging those little bit. But no, it's been a lot of fun. I look forward to the recordings. I look forward to watching the movies. And quite honestly, I'm lucky. I feel lucky because all year I get to spend 2 or 3 days or 4 days, depending on how much prep we have to do, talking and thinking about Christmas. And it's kind of a stress reliever.
Yeah.
Because I think we both have shared that there's times throughout the year where I just put on Christmas music to put myself in a better mood.
But I also wanted to say we're counting our blessings, and we just came off of a political year. We're moving on. We'll have our new president on January 20th. And I think we learned that we're better united together than we are divided. So let's hope we take that to heart in the same way, you were talking about Christmas. And I sometimes see, especially you think about it now, because we just came off it, and you and I, we love it. And now that people know with the podcast, they love to, I don't say make fun of me because that sounds negative. They josh and, I've become like, definitely, I was a Christmas guy before. Now I'm like the public Christmas guy, work, wherever. But I always feel sad that there's always people that are like, Christmas is stressful. It's bad. I don't like it. I don't like my family. I just like, you're kind of getting it wrong. It's what you make it to be in your mind. We all have stresses and our lives haven't turned out maybe the way we thought they were. And we're not rich or we're not handsome or successful. I mean, we are, but I'm just so we could talk to the other people out there.
I think I'm pretty handsome. I am pretty good looking.
So, in some ways it's a mental exercise, right?
It really is. There's many reasons to feel stressed. There's many reasons to block out the spirit. But if you just let it in for a little bit, I mean,
or generate it.
Yeah, or generate it. It's even
you
better.
Know what I mean? You're going to be sad or lonely or stressed if you allow yourself to be. And I know that's easier said than done. I get it. And I know not everybody's going to embrace it like we do too. But maybe it's not Christmas, but if you can find something in your life to bring some light into it, do it, because...
And you'd be surprised how much joy you can create in your own heart and mind if you do something for someone else too. If you are only sitting there and waiting for somebody to do something good for you so you feel good, that's a tough request of the world. Every time I volunteered to do something and volunteered with some organization, I always felt like I got more out of it than the people that I was serving.
Absolutely.
I mean, I'm just really excited about the new year, excited about what we've accomplished so far. One live show under our belt, more live shows to come. And
after we settle all the lawsuits.
Jake's trial is going to cost us a pretty penny.
Well, Mark, I'm going to have you introduce tonight's movie. But before we do that, we ought to talk about our festive fun fact from our last movie. We go back to the Middle East. Remember, we were in the birthplace of Jesus. We were in the Palestinian territories. And our question was kind of a fun one. It was the goofy one. It was, what was the famous fast food location from TV that was recreated in the city of Ramallah from 2014 to 2019? And those of you who sent in the correct answer, you got your prized podcast sticker. Mark, are you still in the dark, or did you know this one?
No.
I did not know this one, but I love this one.
It's hilarious.
It was the Krusty Krab from SpongeBob SquarePants. The Ramallah restaurant, they took it down to identical interior. They had the boat inside where you'd order. They had the same tables. They even mimicked the flags outside that are in the cartoon. They had the same sign, which said the restaurant's name, only it was in Arabic, but it was the same sign. They recreated the door to Mr. Krabs' office, the door to the kitchen area where SpongeBob worked, and in addition, they put statues of Mr. Krabs and SpongeBob inside the restaurant. I'm just sad to say it went away. What a great idea.
I'm speechless. I will have to say this. I was not a very big SpongeBob fan, and now I feel bad because I feel like after watching, I went back to the episode and watched them. I'm like, why didn't I think this was funny? Because they're pretty hilarious.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
In fact, I was thinking, if you haven't watched it, I was going to say, I think Plankton was behind the demise of the... I didn't know if you won't get that joke or not. Because Plankton is the guy. He has the chum bucket or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know what? Now I'm getting it.
Yeah.
We are going to take a hard right here.
Okay.
Today, Bob.
Want to watch a Christmas movie?
Christmas movies are our bread and butter.
We eat Chinese food and watch Christmas movies.
I heard it's the best Christmas movie since Home Alone.
Tonight's film is, I guess, maybe the business side of Christmas we're going to talk about. We're going to go to China.
Oh.
Which I think is interesting.
Yeah.
But tonight's film is a documentary.
Okay.
So
that's different.
Well, it's interesting. It's almost like a year after we did one of our first documentaries. You remember from Iceland, we did Echo.
Oh, yeah.
And Echo was a 56, I think it was the number. Why do I remember that? But not to pick up milk on the way home. But I think it was like 56 vignettes that really were just different people getting ready for Christmas in Iceland. Well, tonight's movie, which is called Merry Christmas Yiwu, is set in China. And it is about the city of Yiwu, which is in some kind of central China. Has a population of about 1.9 million. Let's just call it 2 million.
Okay.
It has over 600 factories.
I'm surprised it's that big, and I've never heard of it.
China's so big, right?
Yeah,
So it's funny I think I had the exact same thought. So it's 1.9 or was it 2 million in this place in the central China. So it's in a really heavy, densely populated area.
That's like Chicago.
It is a lot like Chicago, but in the city it's very much a manufacturing town. For a long time, it was considered a rural city, but then over since like 1980s, it's become heavily populated with factories, a lot to do with Christmas, other manufacturing as well, because of really, it's also near a lot of rural areas. So there's a lot of cheap labor, if you will. But this movie, again, with it being a documentary, there are no actors or actresses. These are the actual people.
It's kind of like you're right. It's the bookend to Echo.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's very interesting. Yeah. I mean, I think, like I said, in this movie, we'll talk about it a little bit, there's not as many variety, right? Because Echo had all these different things happening.
Yeah.
But like Echo, all these things aren't necessarily connected to one another as you go through the movie. But the person who directed this movie, his name is Moldin Kavokvich. He is an acclaimed film director, and he's become one of the most respected filmmakers in the world. He's also known for his highly stylized, mostly charged films, and the founder of the Horpator film production. He's been making films since the mid-1980s and has dedicated himself to making documentaries.
So he made films before, like fiction films, and now he's doing documentary. Okay.
His films are known for a non-conventional approach, and he has won numerous awards. His visual style is characterized by vivid colors, intricate camera movements, and a focus on the psychological aspects of his characters. But this film really starts sort of in this area where there's two young girls who are painting ornaments. Mm-hmm. And they're just sort of there talking to each other. They're manually by hand. They're sort of making their ornaments, and then they're putting glitter over them, and they're talking back and forth. And the one girl is like, wow, you're going really, really fast. Like, how many ornaments have you done? And she's like, oh, not too many. I think I did 100 today. And she's like, well, how many did you do? She's like, I did 30. So immediately you get the sense of they're sort of in this factory production environment, and that there's going to be pressure. I'd say
100 ornaments. I was shocked.
Yeah, it is incredible. And the other thing too, I'd say, as I think this movie has the most glue guns ever in any film, whether real fictional film or documentary. But the movie is, again, it's like there's 3 different sections of the movie, and each section sort of opens up with a saying. They're not necessarily, one's not related to another, other than these are all vignettes of people who are working in and around the Christmas production.
And these are actual people. These are the workers.
And what I couldn't find, and I wish I still hope I can, is how did he get access to this factory?
Yeah.
I could find no information on that, but he was able to get in there. Each vignette starts, and the first one really is talking about, you see these people like in there making the Christmas ornaments there. It's this incredible machine opens up after they've baked the paint onto the Christmas balls like you would never believe. There's on these round spinny wheels, and there's just tons of them, hundreds of them coming out of this machine. This first section, they're showing these 2 managers who are sort of worrying about their production, right? There's a point in the beginning where he gets a phone call and there's somebody on the other line saying, hey, look, we need to increase our production. Our domestic marketplace is in demand. The guy goes like, domestic marketplace? I didn't know people in China celebrated Christmas, right? We're not going to take care of it. Like, you're last, right? We're trying to get this big shipment, I think they say, to Korea. Yeah. And so this first vignette is about these 2 managers who are working really hard. One is kind of sitting there saying, look, we can't push our people too much. It's too hard. We have to watch out for their health. And the other guy is sort of like kind of shaking that off, like, do we really have to worry about that? But it's clear that the environment that people are working on, they're doing a lot of manual labor, a lot of repetitious, boring kind of jobs, living day to day as they're sort of going in there. The other thing that comes out early in the movie is that many of the people that are working there, and when this film is being shot, it's in the spring into the summertime, because they're getting ready for next year's orders, right? So here they are in this day-to-day Christmas, right? But actually they're sweating like crazy because hot summer days. There's one part of the first section where one manager goes home, and the living conditions that people are in during this film is either really tiny, cramped apartments or dorms, right? People come from all over China to work there to try to generate some wealth. They end up living in these dorms or these small apartments, and the one manager is there. And it's funny because you see this manager bossing this woman around. Turns out it's his wife, which I'm like, wow, dude.
Well, yeah. How fun is that going to be to go home?
Yeah. You're awfully brave. But the wife, after cooking dinner, starts dancing to this one song. And what's interesting, the words in the song were like, there's 56 ethnic groups in our family, just like blooming flowers in a garden. And our mother is China. So it's like this propagandish, yeah. And I'm like, goodness gracious, but she's happily dancing and having fun with it. And so,
that's the term, seeing how the sausage is made.
Yeah.
That's all. I'm like, I'm watching this going,
yeah.
I don't know if I want to know.
I know.
You want to go, do you understand? Like, look around, and then you're dancing to that song.
I mean, there's so many themes around this, right? I mean, there's sort of I'm here to work to try to get prosperity. I'm being sort of not forced, but it's very manual labor. Like the things that you're going to learn here aren't going to enrich your future, right? So you have young kids, you have older Chinese residents there, right? So there's all kind of mix. You have people with different physical abilities that are working in these factories. You don't see any outward yelling and screaming about production, but there is sort of the subtle hints.
Stress,
you need to produce more. You have to hit your quota. Cost per item is relevant because at one point we got kids there welding a piece of metal, and the guy comes over, the manager, and sort of starts coaching him a little bit on how to do it differently, more effectively. So, but the hard work is there. And I think there's one interaction with some people at lunch where they talk about if you had a better positive attitude, your day will go better. It'll be going to make money. And the one young girl is like, being rich is a fantasy. Like, I'm never going to make more money. Guys, no, if you just work hard for 2 years, you're going to make all this money. And it's just, it's a lie.
Yeah, it's crushing.
Right. And it's interesting too. When I was watching this, I thought about back in October, where every year they announce the richest people in the world. But like 50% of the billionaires in the world live in China.
I know. Isn't that crazy?
And so you think about the income disparity that's in the U.S. I'm not smart enough to understand the income disparity in China.
Yeah.
And so to your point, like it's very painful to see what's happening. And then as the documentary goes on, you'll start seeing, well, they're dealing with the same things we're dealing with in the workplace, right? There's some workplace romance that isn't going right, and it not in a negative way, but just this boy and a girl, they decide to split up. But what's interesting is her parents are sort of yelling at her, saying, "Why are you breaking up with him? Get married, right? That's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to go and meet a boy." And she's like,
"He's got a job.
He's got a job,
yeah,
right?
I know.
In this god awful factory, right?" And so the second vignette that goes from sort of the production into the new way of evolving the things, right? You have a husband and wife who are trying to build a factory together, and they're going to modernize it, right? But what's interesting about those two is they both were potentially going to be doctors. The wife says, "Well, I couldn't become a doctor because I hurt my hand." The husband said, "Well, I could have been a doctor, but then I'd have to follow the rules. And I'd be follow the rules of medicine, all this stuff." He's like, "I'm free now. I'm free." And I'm thinking like, wow, that's very interesting. Like, because you don't look free. You don't look like, you're certainly going to have your own factory to produce Christmas decorations, but you're still going to have to hire employees who pay them a substandard living, and so
have them live there and
have them live there.
It was a really distorted perspective.
Very. At least from my perspective, it was. Right? It sounds like that you agree. But this new factory, and they're starting to build it. The other manager of the factory calls his wife and talks about how excited he is for the new factory. She's like, "Hey, by the way, I'm not coming this year. Like, I'm going to stay back home with the kids. You're going to be on your own. I'm not going to help you with the Christmas decoration factory anymore." And it's sort of an interesting dilemma, I think, made a little bit about America, right? Mm-hmm. Two parents working, one working, two working. One wants to stay home and be with the kids. So I felt like a little bit that connected to the American experience a little bit, and probably similar to what's best for the children type of thing. Mm-hmm. But clearly it was in an area where there's so many factories, the pool for talent is very hard.
Yeah.
That with that pool, it doesn't necessarily make it where they're paying them more.
Right.
They're going to come up with better benefits.
Drive up
right. There's no mention that they get anything like with benefit wise. So these dorms they live in, I don't know if they pay for those or they're not. I'm not sure. But the life they live though is They work long hours in these manual jobs. Sometimes they go out together and sing karaoke. Sometimes like they want to buy fruit, but it's really expensive. And so they're sort of, counting every possible cent to try to buy a single piece of fruit. And it's in this manual production work. I also had the thought, like, could that actually ever happen in America?
Well, the one thing I think there is some common elements of working class. These are working class people, and they have some of the same issues and experiences like you'd have in the U.S. What is different is this approach of how people will leave the rural countryside and go and live at work and go home like just for the Chinese New Year. From an American perspective, you couldn't even understand that. I mean, because in our mind, you're absolutely living to work.
Right.
That's your whole life.
Right.
But it's easy for us to look down at it and say, look at how they do that or whatever. But, they have the similar struggles that we have as we're all working people.
Yeah, similar, but this is maybe just a tad harsher.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. I mean, I think, again, it goes back to why are the items from China so much less expensive, right? You sort of get that sense.
You can see why.
Yeah. There's also another part of the movie where the husband and wife who are together trying to build a new factory, they also live on a farm, and they wanted to have clients over to have them over for dinner, and they're Western clients, and they're going to be serving porcupine. I'm like, I paused the movie. I'm like, porcupine. But Bob, porcupine is eaten all over the world. It's not only a China cultural things. People raise and buy and eat porcupine all the time. I wouldn't say.
Now there is a side of me that goes, I wonder how it tastes.
Well, I don't know, but it's not, and it's not even like I wouldn't say it was based on what I've researched. Mm-hmm. Anybody hears any different, love to hear more. If you have a good porcupine recipe, send it to Bob. But it was just interesting where, again, and this is what I love about the shows that we do. I'm like, isn't that interesting? Porcupine, that's what they're going to serve their guests and the other side dishes. And the way they said it, as a matter of fact, I'm like, whoa.
You're like, what? Pause.
Went and looked, and sure enough, right? I mean, and people described it, and I don't think this is good, but one description, it doesn't taste like meat or chicken. Didn't say what it tasted like. It just doesn't taste, but it's served with gravy, and it's kind of a fatty meat.
I would think if they're serving it to their Western guests, it had to be like more of a delicacy kind of, you'd assume it was
That's what I would have thought. But what's really interesting, though, is as they're preparing for the meal, the husband says, I really can't remember what is celebrated in the Western culture on New Year's Eve and what is celebrated for Christmas. So he was sort of like saying, I'm not really sure what they celebrate over there. I just know they celebrate things around this time. We make this stuff. And
so he didn't even understand like the reason for it.
The reason, right.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So there's the production piece. And the second part's about this new factory they're going to build. And they're trying to build a better environment for their employees and for themselves. And then, as we moved into sort of the last section of the movie, it really centers on this one girl who works in a smaller factory. She is working, and they're making these little light up Christmas trees, and she's talking about her sister and how much, she's got 4 sisters. She never gets to see the one. She's busy taking singing lessons and about to take her singing exams, and she's going to see her during the holidays. And her boss is a very nice guy. Seems like of all the bosses there, he's sort of trying to be supportive of making sure you stay connected to the family. But in the end, it really turns out that the sister is taking some singing lessons, but is actually just another part of the country working at another factory. The one sister thinks the other one is sort of getting on, has a better job, but in reality, they're the same. There's also an interesting part too, where 2 or 3 women are working in their factory. Their younger kids are getting empty boxes and bringing over, and they sort of make a joke about, child labor and stuff like that, even though themselves are children. But there was an interesting quote the one thing that one girl said is that poor families have diligent children and work at a very early childhood age. That's just a Chinese tradition. And so I thought that was kind of interesting, where like what they're doing and what they're expecting their children is sort of just a traditional thing. Like there is not a path out of this.
I know.
Which is sort of sad.
It goes back to that whole dance scene where we look at things from an individual perspective, like how I benefit myself, my family. They, I think, are seeing it what is best for the nation as a whole. And it's so different. So that's why it's alien for us, and it's easy for us to discount.
In fact, there's another dance part of the movie too, where the husband and wife, different husband and wife who are working in a factory, need to pick up their production. They have an order due, but the husband's like, well, we'll go back to work after we go to our community dance. And so there's a big square full of people dancing, and more kind of dancing / yoga together. But that was an important part of their day, is to kind of show up and show they're part of this broader community. So it's sad. I mean, I think as the movie evolves, you also get to see this big, massive cargo ship area, and it's sort of meant to represent all those things coming into the port that are going to be shipped elsewhere. And it's like Raiders of the Lost Ark, the very first Indiana Jones, where they show the
huge warehouse,
right? I mean, that's what reminded me of seeing all these cargo ships, and it's sort of like, oh my God, like I'm consuming these things. I'm just enabling this to happen.
I know, it's like collective guilt. I'm like, oh my God.
It was killing me. The other thing too, I thought was interesting, there's a brief section in there about Chinese New Year, and the Chinese New Year is really a way to chase the ghosts away. And so it seems like, is there a thought in this documentary where they work all year, Chinese New Year's comes along, they try to forget about what they've gone through, yet they go back to it the following year.
Yeah, the ghost is like what they just experienced, their work. Yeah,
exactly. And so as the sort of documentary's over, these two sisters are together. They're both, again, you can tell, extreme poverty. They're actually washing their clothes in a river.
Yeah.
And you think about, in this day and age, that's shouldn't happen. And they're sort of talking about the year, and they can't get the stains out of their clothes from the factory. And then, gosh, the movie ends with one of the girls saying, "I'm just so tired." And then across the screen comes, "Merry Christmas, Yiwu."
Yeah.
And when, the first time I watched it, I'm like, wait, what does that mean, Merry? Is this Merry Christmas, Yiwu, in a positive way? Like they're wishing Merry Christmas? And then I watch it again, and I'm like, it's not. It's not.
It's ironic.
It's total irony, right? And it's then, the movie ends in that part. It was an interesting documentary, Bob.
It was interesting, and I think it was a good way to experience Christmas through China. However, festive? What do you think?
I mean, it made me not like Christmas.
Yeah. I know. That's so funny, because I was like, I'm trying to describe, I go, no, this is like the least festive thing we have. And only because, and like I said, I think it's collective guilt. You're seeing what these people have to go through. And it was just, like I said earlier, crushing. I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. So it gets the no for festive for me. How'd you feel watching it? Well, I think you talked about that a little bit.
Yeah. The way I felt, I just felt bad. I felt depressed. I felt that people have to live this way in the world to get by. Yeah. And it really is sad. I think there are people here in the U.S. that think that they spend too much time at work and takes away from their life. And I'm like, we don't even think of these people. Their only joy is probably a 6-week period for Chinese New Year, and that's it.
Yeah, and it's the lack of, I guess, automation. I can't think of the right word, but is watching the jobs they're doing. It's just such small piece. I mean, again, making fun of the glue guns, but like the woman who was sitting there putting the little white tassels onto the thing. I mean, how do you do that for 10, 12 hours a day, 7 days a week for 5 or 6 or 7 months? I mean, but what are their alternatives? I mean, there is some sections in there in the movie too, where one mom and dad are trying to sort of educate their children, make sure they get educated. Another girl telling, like, gosh, I really wish I would have learned computer skills, whatever. So, there's a little bit of is there a way to get to a better tomorrow? But
it almost didn't seem realistic though.
It didn't.
I know.
I totally agree. Like, it's like, yeah, okay.
I had heard it used to be in China, they would often keep things manual because they have so many people to keep them employed. And oftentimes they would have inbred inefficiencies. So 3 people would do the job 1 could do just to keep them employed. Now, that was an old way. Then I heard, though, now, again, cost savings to really be the lowest producer, they've tried to automate everything. But The dilemma with that is then you have a populace that if they're not working, they're disgruntled.
That's right. What about, will you watch it in the future?
I don't know, Mark. I saw it once, and now I know it exists out there.
Yeah.
The only way I think I would watch it again is to share it with someone if you wanted to show someone about the industry of Christmas. But I guess maybe it's the joyful side of me, the celebratory side. Like you said, I don't want to know. I don't want to see this. But you know what? You should, though. You really should. It's ignoring it doesn't make it better.
Right.
It's probably better to know that it's out there. It's just, it was sad.
Well, I don't think I mentioned before, but I'll say it now, but this movie was made in 2020. So this isn't like some 20-year-old documentary.
No.
I mean, this is just in the last 4 or 5 years.
I'm glad you said that because I knew that it's a modern, it's not, it's not like, wow, look at what they did in the 1950s, good thing we're so much better today. No.
Yeah, I don't think I can watch it again. I watched it twice. One thing I'd say though is like there's some family friends who love documentaries, who they thrive on them, and I like them too. Don't like this one because how it made me feel, but like I might say, you know what, you want a perspective on it, and I guess it made me think about when next time I buy something, I'm going to be more attentive as to where it came from. Not that one person say, if I said, I'm never buying anything from China again, it would make a difference. But I don't know, maybe I'll feel better about myself.
Well, and I don't want to get political, except there are the people that complain about all the jobs being shipped overseas, but then they'll go to Walmart because it's so cheap and everything's made in the factories like we saw. So I'm like, you can't have it both ways.
That's right.
Maybe you pay more, so we're not having to have people live at a factory and make these things that...
Let's move on.
Yes, let's please.
So
although the one thing I want to say, I did see, how they said the director is known for vivid colors? There were a lot of vivid colors in this.
There were.
I mean, in some ways it underscores the whole depressing,
right?
But they're surrounded by fun, colorful things.
Yeah, all the light up things and stuff.
Glitter.
And the glitter. Yeah. Again, glue guns, glitter. And the other thing too, I'd say too, I want to get onto Merry Christmas, but they all have they all had their smartphones too.
Yeah.
Which I thought was interesting too. I just wonder how much access outside of China they really have. If all they're seeing is a video of saying about we're all little flowers and our mother is China, I'm assuming then the access to the broader world is limited, but I just don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right. Merry Christmas in Mandarin. Ready?
Do they say it?
They do. Shenden Kuala.
Wow. Was that you?
It was me.
Oh, gosh.
Shengdeng Kuala. Shengdeng, the first character means sacred or holy, and the second one means birth. So it literally means holy birth, but it's mostly used to mean Christmas. Jia means festival. So together the phrase is really translated as happy sacred birth festival.
Now I'm going to call the Christmas party at my house. I'll invite you to the Happy Sacred Birth Festival.
That's right. Then Kuala means happy or to be joyful or to celebrate. So altogether we have Christmas festival happy or the sacred birth holiday. But despite the name, many Chinese don't really even know and recognize what's the reason for the season.
Oh, like you said, yeah.
Yeah. So Shengdeng Kuala is Merry Christmas in Mandarin. I think that'll get you someplace on Jeopardy. But interesting cultures, right? I mean, so it goes back to the movie where the guy talks about the domestic market and demand for the domestic market. Well, when Christmas began to take hold in China, there was an actual showdown between two Santa Clauses, Bob, in 1999.
Now, that's not that long ago. So that's interesting. That's when it started to take hold, huh? In like the 1990s?
Yeah, in the 2000s. They both arrived in Beijing claiming to be the real Santas. The first one came from Sweden and was given a VIP walk 2 days later. Santa Claus from Finland showed up claiming he was the real Santa Claus. The two publicly battled to prove they were authentic.
Oh my gosh.
What they did prove is that Santa Claus is extremely popular by the early 2000s. Beijing, which Beijing's often a little more modern than I think a lot of the rest of China, has adopted Christmas traditions and Santas appear frequently throughout the city. And in 2020 in northern China, they opened up their own Santa village at Beijing. It's a Beijing village. It's China's first Christmas themed park. So they actually have a Christmas themed park.
Oh, that just means those people are going to have to work a lot
even harder.
Oh
my God, you brought me down again. Don't bring me down, Bob. It is the northernmost Arctic part of China in the Mohe Countryside, you can see the northern lights in the village, ride a sled, play with snow, visit Santa Claus's house with a Caucasian Santa who speaks Chinese, who sits in a large house surrounded by picturesque snow sculptures.
Now, there's so many things I take from that. One, first off, it shows you how big China is, that they have kind of an Arctic area. And then two, that they would have a Caucasian Santa, I guess, because that's the image of Santa that they see. He speaks Chinese. That's so wild.
Yeah, that could be me.
Okay, I'm putting that on my list, my bucket list. Got to go to the Santa Claus theme park in China.
Northern China. Also, Chinese depictions of Santa Claus will often portray him as playing the saxophone.
Wait, what?
Mm-hmm. There are posters of sax-playing Santas, cardboard cutouts, plastic figurine, mall mannequins, all jamming on the sax. There's several theories, one being that the Chinese perceive the saxophone as romantic and cool.
So they perceive Santa as romantic and cool?
Maybe.
Wow.
The saxophone is an instrument with a Western origin and is portable, so Santa can make Christmas music anywhere he goes, right? Okay. So he's not playing the keyboard. Another argument, and this cracks me up, the other one is Bill Clinton is to blame.
He doesn't look like Santa.
Well, Christmas became popular in China in the 1990s when the government tolerated its spread, right? Not the religion, but sort of Christmas spreading.
Okay.
And there was Arsenio Hall show. Remember him?
Yeah.
That with Bill Clinton went on and he played the saxophone while wearing sunglasses.
I remember that.
So, like some people say, Bill Clinton, president, early 1990s, it sort of spun up with this Santa Claus must play the saxophone just like Bill Clinton.
I don't think that's that far-fetched. They're like looking west. They kind of want to embrace Western things. Christmas is getting popular, and the president plays a saxophone. Santa plays a saxophone.
And Bill Clinton.
I was going to say, did Santa have an intern?
In China for Christmas, this is kind of cool, right? We're getting to the food.
Okay.
Food. In China for Christmas, it's popular to give apples as gifts because how you say Christmas Eve is like the word apple in Mandarin. Christmas Eve in Mandarin is pengyaya, which is translated into peaceful night. And the word for apple in Mandarin is pingyinggua, meaning peace fruit. So apples have emerged as a Chinese Christmas icon. Exquisitely wrapped fruit with images of Santa Claus are stenciled into the apples. Merry Christmas in cursive. The apples are red, which is the color that symbolizes prosperity and good luck. Locals say that eating an apple will bless you with a safe and peaceful year ahead. They are seen as inexpensive yet meaningful ways to express love and affection. Now, if you remember when we did Greece, throwing an apple is the way to say, I love you.
Yeah, exactly.
So the Chinese are not that far off, But apples are everywhere. They're bejeweled, holiday-themed apples at swanky shopping malls that are sold from the back of trucks and makeshift night markets. And some are delivered even in vending machines. And they'll be stenciled with figures or holiday messages. The fancier ones come with a big cellophane wrapping around them as well.
What I love about this is a true China tradition for Christmas, but it stems from a mispronunciation of the word.
Right.
Oh my gosh. I'd like to see one of those
I
fancy
bet you can
apples.
find one.
Yeah. Maybe any of our Chinese listeners, if you want to send us a bejeweled, fancy, swanky apple.
Let's talk a little bit about the music from China for Christmas.
This calls for some Christmas music.
Yes, this Christmas music.
What kind of Christmas music is that?
The least you could do is play some Christmas music.
Now back to Christmas music.
They have Christmas music in China?
Oh, you don't know. So that's the K-pop band EXO. They're split into two groups. One that records tracks in Korea. They're called EXO-K. And one that performs in Mandarin. They're called EXO-M.
Oh, so I get it. Because K-pop usually is Korean, but they have a Mandarin one. Because I was going to say that song is very modern, good, like not anything I expected to hear out of China.
Yep. The nationalities of the singers are also different, although they will cross mostly either Korean and Chinese. So they sort of have both nationalities in their bands. They will often release the same songs, but in two different languages. This is true of the Chinese version of the song The First Snow, which we just heard, and it was sung by the XOM subgroup. It was released in 2013 and has returned to the charts in the holiday season following the first snowfall. So
it keeps coming back.
It does.
Yeah, got it.
It's also gained popularity because of a dance challenge last year when EXO member...
Oh, I thought it was your dance challenge. Oh, okay. It's someone else's.
Yeah, his name is Hwang Sehon. He uploaded a video of himself dancing to the song with snowflakes falling around him. His choreography quickly picked up viral popularity, leading to participation by the K-pop idols, which they're everywhere. I'm a K-pop idol. But the song's about past love and how the first snowfall of Christmas evokes a sense of longing and regret, but also the promise of better days ahead.
How beautiful.
Isn't that romantic,
All I know
Bob?
is that I'm marking this down. I'm highlighting it. At our next live show, we're going to do the viral dance. We're going to learn those moves, Mark.
I might have to have a hip replacement first. So, trivia.
It's trivia. Trivia.
When you have a civilization that's 5,000 years old, there's a lot of fun festive facts to pick from. It becomes very difficult to say which one's most noteworthy, but I guess I could start with the fact that China eats 75% of the world's pickles, 90% of the crawfish. I don't know what percent of porcupines, buys 80% of all Buicks, plus consumes the most salt per citizen, but that might be expected with a population of over 1 billion people. So just because they buy the most, right? They have all those people to help them.
The pickles and crayfish shock me. Okay.
Or we could talk about the Great Wall of China being 13,170 miles long, which would go halfway around the world if it was a straight line. That's significant. But how about they build a new skyscraper every 5 days and have more skyscrapers than the next 13 countries combined?
Build a skyscraper every 5 days.
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
I mentioned this earlier, but China has a new billionaire every 5 days, and they have half of the world's billionaires.
How many poor exploited workers do they have? Now that's all I want to know.
I don't know. Now I'm getting depressed again. All these are kind of noteworthy, right? Any of those would have worked, but here's our question. Before chopsticks, what did the Chinese use to eat their food? Before chopsticks, what did the Chinese use to eat their foods? If you know this, you can earn yourself a bright and colorful sticker and show the world that you are just as smart as any of those Chinese billionaires. Send your answer to festivefans@gmail.com. Well, Bob, again, I think we had a long show again tonight, but before we go,
yes,
one quote. As we spend time with those we love in person or virtually, let us celebrate the blessings we cherish, embrace the spirit of giving, and look out for one another.
That is beautiful.
You know who said that?
No.
Barack Obama.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
That's great.
Yeah. Bob,
Mark, this was very interesting, and you took a documentary and made it intriguing for me.
Well, thank you. I hope I did. I think as much as I would watch it, if you like documentaries, but it may just take a little bit of your spirit out of you. But you'll get it back. Our next show, we're going to have that spirit jacked so
I don't know.
high.
As you pass my house tonight, you might see a bunch of decorations flying out the window.
I'm going to check every decoration to see where they're made. All right, Bob. Thanks, fans. Thanks. Send us your comments. You know how to get a hold of us. We love doing this with you guys, and we look forward to
we want to know how
2025.
What did those poor Chinese people do before they had chopsticks?
Good night, Bob.
Good night, Mark.
Actually, we're done.
Done.
It's over. It's over.
It's over, kaput, finito.
It's over. It's over. It's over.
This has been a Waysound Studio production. And sound engineering on our show is by Jake Fontana.